Hello, hello, and welcome once again. J76NY here, and this is episode number 3 of our playthrough of Suzerain Rizia. We are playing as King Romus Taurus, and we are just at the beginning of our campaign. Nothing really substantial has happened yet. We just kind of set King Taurus up and met with our uncle, our Grand Vizier, which is kind of like our chief advisor. I did decide to include my daughter in the council meetings. I went that route because as a young man, my father included me in his council meetings. I think that is going to be a good move for her to get her feet wet in the royal court, I guess you could say, and learn a thing or two. Before we get started, I did get some pretty good advice in the last video about certain particular things that we will keep our eye open for as we go through the playthrough. So you know who you are, and I thank you very kindly for that. So let's read the news, see what's going on. RRG CEO speaks out against proposed mining regulations. Maybe I should do all the little things before I read the news. Well, we'll see. In a press conference given at the Rizian Royal Gold headquarters in Porte Drazan, CEO Rossello Montoro spoke out against the mining safety regulations proposed by recently elected Morellan PM Alma Sultana. Regulations would affect the Mefteam ITZ, the resource-rich region in which Rizia, Morelia, Vogsland, and Lesbia currently all own rights. Listen, I have nothing but respect for Madam Prime Minister over there, Mr. Montoro, who prefers the name Rusty, told reporters. But she's gotten too big for her britches if she thinks she can tell our hardworking miners how to do their jobs. If our new king wants to earn his crown, he'll put her in her place. Okay. Let's do the minor things first here. Nelvisar oil fields on the verge of depletion. Uh-oh, that's not good. Industry reports reveal that the Nelvisar oil fields, once among Rizia's most prolific sites, is nearing the end of its productive life, with experts predicting significant output decline over the next years. Within the next years. I'm just going to make up words as I go. The imminent depletion has prompted calls for increased investment in alternative energy sources and a reevaluation of Rizia's long-term energy strategy. Okay. Unveiling the legacy of the Resinid Empire. In a groundbreaking development that has captured the Kingdom of Rizia's imagination, archaeologists in the esteemed city of Topes have unearthed remnants of what appeared to be a major city from the long-lost Resinid Empire. Very cool. The extensive layout, marked by grandiose architecture and elaborate frescoes, suggests a significant center of commerce, governance, and culture reflective of a bygone era of prosperity. All right. Coal deposits suspected in Havas. Geologists in Havas have notified us about the potential presence of significant coal deposits, sparking interest for further exploration. To ascertain the extent and economic viability of these resources, comprehensive seismic and subsurface surveys must be commissioned. Okay. Let's go to the world map here, see if there's anything we have to do. I don't think there is. Oh. We do have royal decrees here. Let's see what we can do here. By this royal decree, the kingdom solemnly affirms the transition of the crown within the Toras lineage from King Valero to King Romus. This decree upholds -1 authority. Sorry, I got distracted there. This decree upholds the revered tradition of the monarchy, ensuring the continuity and stability of the Toras dynasty. Concurrent with this auspicious transition, King Romus, in his inaugural act of clemency, extends a royal pardon to 500 individuals convicted of minor offenses. We have my uncle, who is neutral. My religious leader is also neutral. The Counselor of War and Security approves, Foreign Affairs approves, and the Treasury approves. We lose 1 authority. We got a lot of authority. Well, let's see what we got here. -1 authority, -1 budget. Housing for the Poor initiative, an RPP proposal. A new ambitious housing program is dedicated to the kingdom's homeless and those grappling with extreme financial constraints. By guaranteeing housing for every citizen, the state reiterates its commitment to unity, prosperity, and social harmony. Such endeavors are anticipated to cement public trust and ensure tranquility across Rizia. Oh, hold up. Uncle Hugo doesn't want it. The priest does. Lucita, she doesn't want it either. I'm going to go with no just based on that. Neutral, and the Counselor of Treasury approves. Excavation of Tope's ancient resident city. -2 authority, -2 budget. -2 turn construction. +2 on tourism. In homage to our ancestral heritage and to boost the tourism industry, the kingdom is launching an excavation and restoration project to resurrect the historic site of Tope's, a landmark of ancient Reznid Empire. With the city's excavation and restoration, we anticipate a renaissance of cultural pride, boosted tourism, and an uplift in public sentiment. I'm going to hold off on doing anything before I start signing stuff and spending money and authority. I want to have my meeting with my Royal Council. Here we go. So let's meet the Royal Council, see what they have to say about things. It was late afternoon when Vina and I headed back to the chamber for the first council meeting. The day was hot and my head still felt slightly fuzzy from the wine we'd shared before lunch. Wow. I knew I was about to receive a lot of new information from my counselors. I hoped I could keep it all straight. As we crossed the palace gardens, I'm going to go to my first council meeting drunk. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, Romus. You're the king, man. You can do whatever you want. I am the king. If I want to spend my days tanked, that's what we'll do. As we crossed the palace gardens, I had a feeling I was being watched. Suddenly, I noticed a young man standing next to the path. His face matched the photograph Hugo had shown me that morning. Duke Suzerain, I presume. What are you doing here? Explain yourself. Ignore him and keep walking. Might as well greet him. Let him know I recognize him. He smiled nervously. I hold no land, Your Majesty, but you may use the title if you wish. You're a traitor's son, so you're the man who would topple the monarchy. It's brave of you to approach me. It's good to see you here. brave of you to approach me. He tugged at his suit lapel. I wanted to introduce myself before our first official meeting. I may be the leader of the opposition, but I'm not your enemy. If you and I establish a dialogue, I believe there's much we can accomplish for our country. Vina gave him an encouraging smile. Calm yourself, Vina. How lovely of you to say that. I'm Vina Toras, by the way. Let's, do a little here. House Suzerain. Patrons of the arts and education. So they sided with Arcasia and undermined the monarchy. He's the one I could have had killed in the womb. Well, I don't see how antagonizing this guy could be a good thing. Deal cautiously with this guy. He resisted the urge to laugh. I know, a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I'm not uninterested in your proposition, but you'll have to request a formal audience with me like everyone else. I wish we could stay and talk, but the princess and I must be going. Until next time. Don't speak to him, Vina. We're going to be late. You're to stay away from me, Mr. Suzerain, and even further away from my daughter. I guess we could try and placate him for now. I look forward to it, Your Majesty, Your Highness. Vina waved as he walked by. Now, my question here, where is my security? I mean, if this guy is... Well, I guess we'll have to let the story play out. Would they really have let him pop out of the bushes and surprise me like that? Given his past and his family's past? My daughter seems to like him, though, so there's that. He's friendlier than I expected. I could imagine working together. Don't get too smitten. He's the opposition, after all. Nice, my foot. Oh my god. That man has all kinds of ulterior motives. Don't get too smitten. He's the opposition, after all. We continued towards the council chambers. Oddly enough, I still felt like someone had their eyes on us. I looked back just long enough to see a flash of gold. Titus. That's my chief of security. In all his glory. Titus Gordian. We entered the chamber where Hugo was already waiting for us. No sooner had we sat down than a brief rap came on the door. Without waiting for an answer, Lucita Alvaro rushed in. Hello, Lucita. The new War and Security Counselor was younger than I'd imagined, just past her mid-30s. She carried herself with a mix of regal elegance and soldierly authority. Gentlemen, pardon my interruption. She bowed towards me. Please accept House Alvaro's formal congratulations on your coronation, Your Majesty. I motioned for her to stand. Her eye was fixated on my uncle's shirt as she raised herself. Hugo, Your Grace, your shirt's buttoned wrong. Oh, my uncle looked chastised. Oh, hello, Princess Vina. Would you like a coloring book? Oh my god. How old is Vina supposed to be here? It doesn't exactly say. I guess we could do the math. Or someone out there could do the math for me. Because, you know, Well, or we could just read that where it says she's 18. She's 18, Duchess Azaro. She's part of our court now. I advise you to be more respectful. Salute her. Welcome to the council, Duchess. There, she's 18. A cognac, then. Oh, she's a smartass. She gave Vina a wide smile. Please don't mind me, Duchess of Azaro. I'm here to learn and observe as the royal heir. Her brow wrinkled. She gave a curt nod. So I see. General Thaddeus sends his regards, or he would if he were capable of speaking in full sentences. She was trying to be flippant, but I could sense emotion behind her words. I hope he heals so swiftly. I was counting on his expertise as counselor. This must be a difficult time for you. Let me know if there's anything else I can do. There we go. Corners of her mouth twitched downward. I'm not a porcelain doll, Your Majesty. My ability to perform my duties is in no way compromised. The others should be right behind me. Well, off on a good start with her. As if on cue, I heard the voices of Elena Werner and Lorenzo Esquibel, my treasurer and counselor of foreign affairs. Looks like a librarian. For dad's sake, Lorenzo, you don't need to hold the door open for me every single time. I'm not as fragile as I look. I keep telling you, how could I allow a door to close on such a gorgeous face? Oh, I remember their flirtatious routine from my days on Father's Council. Nobody knew whether the two of them had actually had an affair. On seeing me, they dropped the act and assumed a look of deference. Lorenzo smoothly removed his fedora, revealing a well-oiled mane of gray hair. I would hardly call that a mane. It's nicely styled, though, like the mustache. Your Majesty, it's a pleasure and an honor to be in this room with you once more. Elena nodded. Her businesslike demeanor briefly softened as she looked at me. I must say, it makes me proud to see you in that seat. If you show the same devotion as you did on King Valero's council, you'll make a fine ruler. That's good. Nice of you to say. This formality doesn't suit any of us, Elena. Lorenzo, it's great to see you both again. I don't need your approval, bitch. If anything, you're the one who should be seeking mine. Well. Thank you, Miss Werner and Mr. Esquibel. I look forward to working with both of you. No need for flattery. With your years of experience, I'm the one who should be bowing down. I think not. Let's get chummy. First name basis for everybody. Protocol is protocol, Your Majesty, even if we've both known you since you were in diapers. Leno looked fondly at Vina. I'm pleased to see the young heiress here as well. A new Liza the Great in the making. Vina blushed. I wouldn't go that far, but I do hope you'll tell me about your time in Queen Liza's court one day. I'd love to. There are just a few updates I've got to share with your father first. Once all the counselors were seated, Hugo began. Thank you all for joining us. I'm pleased to have the entire council here for this first meeting. Well, not the entire council. The Grand Wise Man is in Plavo, preparing for the upcoming religious ceremony with His Majesty. But he needn't involve himself in earthly concerns like our royal treasury. Excuse me. Smiled to himself, then gestured to Elena. No, indeed, that's for me to worry about. She put on a pair of half-moon glasses, then reached down into her purse, pulled out a thick leather-bound ledger, and flipped it open. Surely His Majesty already had some awareness regarding the state of Rizia's economy and resources. We're incredibly wealthy. What else would I need to know? I do, but I'd like an update from you regardless. Yes, but I'm sure my daughter would appreciate a refresher course. I'm gonna go with that. Certainly, Your Majesty. She smoothly adjusted her reading glasses before continuing. Rizia is still one of the wealthiest countries on the Mercopan continent, but His Majesty the late King Valero bequeathed us a number of challenges in that department. Where should I start? Tell me about our government budget. What's been going on with our gold? Let's talk about our energy and how much of our revenue comes from taxes. All very exciting. We'll just go down the list. It's healthy, Your Majesty. Government budget is all in all in the positive. It's 5 per turn, I guess. That's how that works. Administrative costs and military expenditures are the only thing that we're in the red on. Since we began trading with Rumburg, we've been running a surplus. One that's quite high for our region, though of course there's plenty of room for improvement. His Majesty King Valero was hesitant to increase government spending, perhaps even too hesitant. Do not slander the late King of Rizia. I'm sure my father had his reasons for such frugality. No need to sugarcoat it, he was a miser. That's great to hear. He had the right idea. If Rumburg stops importing from us, that surplus could disappear. That's good to know. It is, especially with the slate of our military modernization measures I have in mind. Elena pursed her lips. With all due respect, Duchess Azaro, I'm not sure the military is the king's #1 focus. Why wouldn't it be, Miss Werner? Rizia continues to have many enemies, both foreign and internal. It most certainly is not. The money should be spent on the Rizian people, not weapons. Last time Rizia had a strong military, its members mutinied against us. No, it wasn't. Or no, it isn't. If we invest our surplus in Rizian industry, we'll get back what we spend triplefold. Choices matter. So I could see this. I'm not going to go full-blown man of the people, because I am, by birth, royalty. Last time Rizia had a strong military, its members mutinied against us. And we actually needed help putting that down, so that's a valid statement as well. Well, shit. I mean, this isn't false. If we invest our surplus in Rizian industry, we'll get back what we spend triplefold. Wow. So it's see, this is where doing this live could be very helpful. This is valid. I don't think we have that many foreign or internal enemies, though. And if we make more money, then we can spend more on her. No, it isn't. If we invest our surplus in Rizian industry, we'll get back what we blah, blah, blah. Very good thinking, Your Majesty. Ultimately, shouldn't that money be spent on the Rizian people? Think of the advances we were able to make during the Liza era due to the Queen's investment in citizen welfare. You'll recall her famous quote, True prosperity is not defined by the amount of gold in our coffers, but by the health and happiness of each soul within our border. Very touching. You're supposed to be a silent observer. Truer words have never been spoken. More pragmatically, a happy and well-fed populace is one that does not rise up against its leaders. On the other hand, there can be no welfare without security. What good is health and happiness if we're unable to defend ourselves? There we go. Hugo nodded. I will point out that Rizia's wealth and my mother's judicious handling of it was one of the factors that allowed us to survive the century of revolutions. However, those were different times. As a modern nation in an era of increasing superpower influence, we are expected to have a certain standard of military. You're right, Hugo. I'll take Duchess Azero's suggestion seriously. Other countries might compete to have the biggest guns, not Rizia. And there's the fact that we're sandwiched between the highly contentious regions of Zeal and Pales. If we cultivate our alliances well, we won't need that. We'll go with this one. Allies can turn on us, Your Majesty. A loyal, well-funded military is worth its weight in gold. I don't disagree, but your enthusiasm is heartening, Duchess Azaro. Even if I personally believe our spending should be directed elsewhere. Any further questions? Yeah, 4, actually. What about our gold? Well, Your Majesty, gold is still the backbone of the Rizian economy. We have a number of active mines within the country operated by Rizian Royal Gold Corporation. RRG, Official Gold Mining Corporation. Been majority private since the mid-1800s. Alright. She and Hugo exchange glances. And unfortunately, we cannot talk about Rizian Royal Gold without talking about its CEO. Why unfortunately, Your Grace? You'd better get that discussion over with. Do not speak ill of our country's most vaunted businessman. Why unfortunately? Your uncle never could countenance the presence of Rossello Montoro. It sounds like something out of the Karate Kid, I'm sorry. But we can't mine gold in this country without him. Definitely doesn't look like something out of the Karate Kid. Dukes of Hazzard, maybe. Mr. Montoro, who insists on being called Rusty, currently owns 70% of Rizian Royal Gold. How is that even allowed to happen? I just read about it. That's fine by me. We all know that private enterprise can achieve what government cannot. That's a good point. As much as I respect Rusty, I believe we royals should be in charge of our own gold mines. Go against my... We'll go with that. Free market capitalism for the Rizian Empire. In some cases, perhaps, but after what this man did... You looked at Elena. I want to read a little more about this guy. Born into an impoverished family in Malkos industrial area. Middle-class childhood in the Porte Drizon suburbs. Sharp business acumen and relentless ambition, as well as a fortuitous connection and decisions that some have labeled as ethically questionable. All right. Rusty's first move after taking over the company was to sue your father's government for loss of revenue connected to the Zeal handover. After a lengthy back and forth, it was agreed that the kingdom's share in RRG be decreased from 45 to 30%. I want Rizia's original stake back. Rizia should not own 30% of RRG or even 45%. The entire company should be nationalized. I don't see any problem with that. We shouldn't have so much of our money tied up in an outdated resource. That's absolutely not my direction I'm heading with that. Well, it's a choice between balls to the wall and halfway. After this statement up here, that seems I mean, it's a walking contradiction here. Let's go for the original stake. Curry enough favor with Rusty, and it should be possible. But any more than 45% will be difficult. Patents for RRG's proprietary mining technology was filed in Ventry City, Arcasia, and most of its financial assets are kept in Crute. In other words, attempting to nationalize the company would strip it of a substantial amount of its value. Okay? Well, I guess that's not really what I want to do. RRG may control mining within Rizia, but the royal government is a direct stakeholder in the Meftium International Free Trade Zone. She unrolled a map on the table and pointed to a region in the east of Morella. The double blow of losing our mines in Zeal and 15% of our RRG stake has made us quite reliant on the gold from the MITS, Meftium International Trade Zone. The double blow, It was established shortly before you joined the Royal Council, was it not, Elena? I heard the negotiations between Rizia, Vogsland, Lesbia, and Morella took over a year. Can't we increase our mining efforts within Rizia to make up for the loss? When we get Zeal back, we'll get its gold back as well. How much say does the government have over operations in the MITS? I command enough knowledge on these topics. How much say does the government have? A fair amount. Any changes to regulations or profit shares have to be agreed on by all 4 nations involved. RRG gets a percentage of the MITS profits for the use of its technology, but we can make decisions without Mr. Montoro's input. Can't we increase our mining efforts within Rizia? We can try. There are a number of promising sites that have yet to be explored. We would just need to give Rizian Royal Gold permission to begin excavations, which might involve the expropriation of noble property, depending on where the mines are located. Oh. When we get Zil back, its gold will be ours again. I certainly hope so. Wayland has been mining extensively in the region since taking over in 1927. But as per the terms of our agreement, Zeal and all of the resources therein were returned to Rizian ownership in 1952. And at the time of our last survey, there was much more than 30 years worth of gold in the ground there. That covers all the topics about gold. Let's talk about our energy holdings. Of course, Your Majesty, this is a new area for us compared to gold, but the financial possibilities are intriguing indeed. She pointed at the map in front of her, this time directing our attention to the southern coast of Valenquires. Though our state energy company is called Rizian Oil and Gas, projection of the former has slowed over the years and is threatening to come to a complete halt. The later, however, shows potential. Our most productive gas field is Esquires off the coast of Topes. Assuming enough money is invested into its expansion, we can expect it to fuel our kingdom for years to come. Or we can spend our budget elsewhere as we wait for access to the new field south of Calicabiz. Careful, Miss Warner. One shouldn't count one's pheasants before they've been bagged. You will both quit squabbling and tell me about this new field. The south of there. Or wouldn't that put the field close to Pals? Lorento gave me a significant look. Exactly, Your Majesty. Miss Werner, tell him. Well, we're still in the extremely early stages, but we may have at least part of a claim to a substantial reserve of natural gas between the ports of Pales and the Rizian island of Calicabiz. What are we waiting for? Drill, baby, drill. We should proceed very carefully with this. We don't want a gas dispute on our hands. Perhaps we should let it go. No. Let's tread lightly. Wise words, Your Majesty. Our researchers have been investigating the field's size and border. Once those are known, it will be easy to determine ownership. Of course, we are liaising extremely close with Pales to avoid misunderstandings. As well we should. Nobody wants a repeat of the last conflict. Your family isn't itching for a rematch. If it does come down to that, God forbid, Rizia will win. That sounds like a threat. If the Grand Duchy does not provoke us, we will not provoke them. As much as my family is clamoring for a repeat of the Pales campaign, I think it's best to ignore them. Of course, if Pales shows hostility towards us, we will react in kind, but Rizia should not be the first to resort to aggression. Vina tentatively raised her hand. I don't know why we're even discussing a military response. We'll surely be able to reach a compromise using proper diplomacy. Don't interrupt my counselors, Vina. You will speak only when spoken to. You're right, Vina. Duchess Azaro. Save the military talk for your own briefing. Yeah. Wow, none of these are all that good. There's always a winner and a loser. That's about the most accurate. Oh, but Lena gently cut in. We should save this discussion for if and when we know more about the gas field in question. For now, are there any other questions? How much revenue comes from taxes? Our resource-based economy allows us to have some of the lowest tax rates on the continent. It's been a real boon for the economy. The central government does collect a flat income tax of 10%. This is mostly paid by workers, since nobles have no income to speak of. Watch your words, Miss Warner. The nobility may not have an income, but we are the foundation upon which Rizian society is built. 10%, that's low, isn't it? That doesn't seem fair. Low-earning workers pay taxes while nobles don't. Could we generate extra revenue by introducing a estate or inheritance tax? Estate or inheritance tax. I don't think people, if it's the commoners pay the taxes and nobles don't, commoners probably don't have estates or inheritance. 10% is kind of low, eh? Compared to most of our neighbors, yes. We do provide a high standard of social service to our people, but it's mostly financed with trade income. This is by the House of Delegates' design, Your Majesty. Lowering the tax burden on citizens lead to higher satisfaction with the government and less likelihood of rebellion, which is good. Wise idea, but it leaves us at the mercy of our resources and trade partners, which we don't seem to be doing too bad with. Except for our oil fields that are drying up. I still think that rate could be higher. Imagine what we could do with funding. Why not get rid of the income tax altogether then? There we go. Very uncommittal. At the moment, we have a little risk of that. In terms of our province individual contributions, the GDP in Valenquois is off the charts thanks to the wine, gas, and tourism industries. Brennus is still suffering the effects of the loss of Iza and Zeal. However, it's made advances in shipping and agriculture alongside its gold mines. The manufacturing concerns in Cardace Montecler are doing very well, to the point that business councils are complaining about the imminent shortage of skilled workers. A shortage of Rizian workers, Elena. These vacancies could easily be filled with migrants from Wayland and Dardia. Dirtia. That's a slippery slope, Mr. Escobar. Are you familiar with Rizia's two-tier employment system, Your Majesty? No. After the Wayland Civil War, we began granting labor hand visas to Wezek migrants and a small number of Dirtians. Labor hands may accept employment by Rizian industries, but they don't have the right to Social Security or other benefits. And there's a cap on how much they're allowed to earn. Okay? They now make up most of our blue-collar workforce, with higher paid jobs being held by native Rizians, as well as smaller numbers of lesbians, Volkslandians, and Rumburgians. The program did wonders for the economy when King Valero initiated it, but as a result, we now have millions of workers in this country who are being treated like second-class citizens. They should have the same working rights as their Rizian counterparts, especially if they're paying taxes. If the system functions, I see no need to change it. Those visas were granted to temporary residents. They were supposed to go home at some point. I see where you're going with this, but granting them full employment rights would lead to a flood of uncontrolled migration. Yeah. If the system functions, I see no need to change it. I wouldn't say it functions. Barring these people from upward mobility will have consequence in the long term. The worker shortage Elena mentioned is just one of them. Rizia offered Wezek asylum where other countries did not. There must be some limit to our generosity. I recall you once supported that stance as well, Your Majesty. I did, and I still do. I'm all for diversity, but we Rizins cannot allow ourselves to become outnumbered. From a purely pragmatic point of view, expanding foreign worker rights does seem like a convenient solution to the shortage Elena mentioned. We're going to go with the middle one. I am all for diversity, but we Rizians cannot allow ourselves to become outnumbered. I will point out that from a security standpoint, allowing migrants to earn more money would curb the kind of black market activities that have been taking places in cities like Iza. Okay, so do you not fear the dilution of Rizian culture and values, Duchess Cesaro? Or the infiltration of Das Nurist and Golcondists into our Ruist society? Societies change, Your Grace, and I don't recall these concerns being raised about the Rumburgians who moved here after our alliance. Well put, Duchess. I can already tell you're going to be a brilliant addition to this council. That's completely different. The Rumburgians are our blood relation. To tell the truth, I'm not thrilled about any of these groups. Rizia is a multicultural nation now, Hugo, whether we like it or not. Well, that this is accurate, I mean, whether or not I'm A-okay with it is kind of irrelevant. Rizia is a multicultural nation now. I don't have to like it, but I may have to just accept it. We cannot let the events of the last 2 decades destroy what has taken over 1,000 years to build. The people of this country will accept diversity up to a certain point, Your Majesty, but if they begin to feel their national identity is under threat, there will be consequences. Which, by the way, is why I wholeheartedly support Grand Wiseman Ignatius' decision to impose a tax on non-Rukurish, filling our coffers and rewarding the native Rizian faithful in one go. Hugo fixed Lucida with a defiant stare. Elena looked uneasily at the three of us. She tapped a pencil on the table. You seem to have veered off track. Can we get back to your questions about the economy? That's all the information I need for now. Thank you very much. Perfect. Elena glanced down at her notes, her expression contemplative. I'd like to discuss several economic considerations. We should anticipate potential expenses arising from our impending fiscal policies. Please elaborate. I'm accustomed to handling unexpected challenges. A detailed explanation isn't necessary. Seems like we've covered enough ground for today. Let's adjourn the meeting soon. I want to know more. The first point to consider is industrial growth. I am all for expanding production and construction, but we should make sure we have the energy to keep our facilities humming. Second, there's the matter of living standards. Improving the quality of life for our citizens naturally leads to higher administrative expenditures. Thirdly, if you do decide to listen to Duchess Azaro and expand our defense capabilities, keep in mind that the cost of upkeep for our armed forces will rise accordingly. Lastly, energy management poses its own challenges. As we approach the limits of our grid's capacity, we may incur additional storage costs. This information is invaluable, Elena. I appreciate your insight. That'll be a long way off in the future. I have more pressing worries at the moment. I have full confidence in your ability to handle these matters. That's very good to know. I'll make my decisions accordingly. Might as well pat her on the head. Frankly, I'm glad to see you taking such an interest in our financials. Between myself and the House of Delegates, we were able to keep everything running smoothly in the absence of clear guidance from your father. But with a king of your caliber at the helm, there's no telling how high we can soar. History shall know me as Romus the fiscally irresponsible. Has a certain lack of ring to it. Your hard work during my father's decline is to be commended. Do not speak ill of his majesty. He did the best he could in the face of many enemies. Thank you. It was indeed quite the stressful time for everyone. I think that's enough for today, but we will have to come to a decision regarding the development of our resources. Gold is where most of our profits are coming from today, and it holds a special place in our history. But I maintain that natural gas would be more fruitful investment. I'll let you think about it, Your Majesty. Thank you, Miss Warner. This was indeed enlightening. Pleasure to share these chambers with you once more, King Romus. Yes, I'm looking forward to our upcoming security briefing. And congratulations on surviving your first council meeting, Your Highness. I found it fascinating, Your Grace. They smiled at each other, not altogether sincerely. Wow. My counselors left and I sat for a few minutes more, reflecting on what Elena and the others had said. Cool. Decree. Wow, there's a lot. Let's see. Well, investment in public transportation infrastructure. Rizia is committed to modernizing its transportation backbone by investing heavily in public transportation. This initiative symbolizes our dedication to facilitating efficient transit for our citizens. That's going to cost a lot. Public rail transportation. -1 budget per turn. Nobody wants it. Well, these two do. This gesture aims to promote a more connected Rizia, ensuring people can travel with ease and affordability. As rails stretch further across our lands, they not only connect places, but also hearts and minds. Public sea transportation subsidy. Navigating our waters will become more affordable as the kingdom endeavors to subsidize public sea transportation. I don't think I'm going to be subsidizing any transportation. Naturalization process for foreigners. -4 on the authority. Plus 100 manpower per turn. Government hereby institutes a comprehensive naturalization process for the foreign national seeking citizenship. I'm not even going to bother reading the rest of that because I'm not going to do it. Establish a Romus Taurus hospital. The kingdom greenlights the foundation of the Port Drazan Romus Taurus hospital. Plus 250 military manpower, plus 50 military manpower per turn on completion. -1 authority, -2 budget. Our budget's looking a little slim here. Furthermore, it stands ready to serve as a pivotal medical base for wounded military personnel, reinforcing the nation's defense capabilities. Or I could found Romus Taurus University. Plus 250 military equipment. We decree the founding of the Romus Taurus University, a new beacon of higher education and research. This institution will be dedicated to fostering academic excellence, innovative research, and the pursuit of knowledge across a wide spectrum of disciplines. The establishment will also contribute to the defense industry, research, and production with its tech faculties. All right, well. I want to do a royal decree, but we got a lot of authority. I mean, what do you think? What do you think? You think I should sign this? I mean, it doesn't cost much. And it could go a little bit in favor of strengthening the monarchy. And the worst I got is neutral. So concurrent with this auspicious transition, King Romus, in his inaugural act of clemency, extends a royal pardon to 500 individuals convicted of minor offenses. Yeah, why not? Let's do it. All right. So we're down to 7 here. Arrange a classical concert for the noble houses. Consecration of the king. Read the report, read the report. All right, well, I think that was a fairly productive first meeting with our royal council. I think I got through it without pissing off anyone too bad. Learned a little bit, and we can use that knowledge going forward. Anyway, I'm going to call this episode to a close right here. We will pick it up in episode number 4. If you like this episode, you want to help the channel and the series out a little bit, hit the subscribe. Thoughts, tips, and advice go in the comment section down below. The more comments we get, the better I'm going to do at this playthrough. So I will definitely take your advice seriously. However, keep in mind that this is my playthrough and I'm going to run it as I see fit. May not always take everyone's advice, but if it makes sense, I will. And so far, the advice I've gotten is extremely well explained and makes really good sense. So comments like that, and we'll have a hell of a playthrough here. If you want to follow along, hit the subscribe. You can come along with us. And we'll pick it up again in episode number 4, J76NY, saying thank you very much for watching and have yourself a very good day.